The Kinzer Mind and Body Podcast.
Somebody asked, what's your favorite type of meditation? And also, how do we reach a higher awareness in meditation? I have a very sort of particular point that I like to make on meditation, and it's that meditation reveals your true nature more than anything else. I think when we think about meditation as something that's going to save us, and we're looking to meditation to come and bring us out of overthinking rather than realizing meditation is simply us sitting with ourselves. Meditation is sort of the equal sign to awareness. I think the most powerful meditation is that which is embedded in your normal daily routine. Of course, sitting down 5, 10, 15, 20, an hour, however long, however many minutes long is extremely beneficial. But if you're sort of sitting in that meditation and looking to something to come and relieve that sense of overthinking and that sense of emotional burden, you're going to have a harder time detaching and not engaging with those thoughts and difficult emotions in your daily life. Rather than if we wake up in the morning and go about our life and realize that those thoughts are going to come and those difficult feelings are going to come. But what's important is that we don't allow it to influence us in a way where we're basing our whole day around it. When a negative thought comes, there's two things that can happen. It can pull you in, it can trigger you with this sort of bold headline, and you might fall for the headline. This is obviously establishing that you don't already have the deeply ingrained belief that you are not your thoughts. But if that belief is still not cemented and rooted deep enough, then a thought may pull you in, and then it sort of brings you along this storyline, this made up fairy tale of some doomsday prediction of what can happen. And then your hour is ruined, or 2 hours, or even your day is ruined because now you're ruminating on that thought constantly. But all it would have taken is a slight adjustment in awareness and perspective to see, oh, wait a minute. This isn't a intuitive, intelligent guide trying to help me. No, this is just brain stuff. This is just noise. This is just my brain and its activity sort of running an algorithm and basing itself and its feedback loop off of how I react. Okay, that's what the mind is. The mind is a biological organism, and when you receive thoughts, these are neurons firing in your mind. It isn't some identity, it isn't some higher self coming down in thought. The question mentioned higher awareness. Higher awareness is void of thought. So if you're looking for sort of that intuitive remark and to be, I don't know, you're looking for a deeper intuition and a deeper alignment and how to know you're there, it won't come in the form of thought. It won't come in the form of your voice. That's a big one I had to come to realize is that, the most spiritual person ever, self-proclaimed, can be spiritual in their thought nature. But that's not what awareness is. Awareness is a separation between attention and thought. So if you're looking for that sort of divine inspiration, it's not going to come in your own voice, in your mind. I can tell you that. Because that is mental activity, that's brain activity, words and language. The word and language model that is embedded in your brain can be manipulated so much so that you think that you're actually reacting to the thought, but as long as you're thinking about the thought, you're still in that same model and mode of thinking. Hopefully that makes sense. So, my favorite type of meditation is the type of meditation where we go about our day and we're constantly holding this middle ground and this center of balance. That's my favorite type of meditation because it instills in the brain right away that we are not going to be influenced by negative thoughts. That is not going to change our course of action. And that's a very powerful message to send to the mind. When the mind sees that this sort of algorithmic mental activity, this blob of language embedded with fear, doesn't actually make any difference to the way you act, it's going to say, okay, this is unimportant. If you're not ruminating, if you're not obsessing over those thoughts, the brain is going to stop sending them. Yeah, they'll come once in a while, but it'll slowly dwindle down. And that's what higher awareness is. Higher awareness is taking back control of your attention. So much so that you may even reach a point where the attention is basically standstill. And that's when I think higher awareness and maybe even higher states of consciousness can be achieved. Because now you're void of thought and you are understanding and existing in a state of pure presence. And that's more powerful than any thought. And I'll go on a quick tangent because a lot of people say, well, what about my great ideas? Ideas aren't thoughts. Ideas come from a sort of deeper creativity, a sort of deeper intelligence. Because if you notice an idea, a really good idea, it doesn't really vocalize itself in your mind. It sort of just presents itself. Have you ever noticed that? That when you have a really good idea, suddenly it's there. It's not there, and then suddenly it's in existence. Suddenly you have it. But you didn't think about it. You didn't sort of break it down and analyze it until a point where you were left with something that's really good. No, it's sort of the initial download kind of happened. And anything that happens after that as a result of obsessing over it or ruminating on it and overthinking about it, that's that same language model sort of coming back into play. So when answering my favorite type of meditation, it would be the one that directly results in a change of brain activity in relation to the way we're going about our life. Because I think that's what a lot of people want. I think that's what a lot of people care about is how can I see immediate results? How can I see my brain change its form, change the way it interacts in the most efficient way possible? And that's through taking back attention. That's through withholding reaction from thought. And that is a sort of walking, ongoing meditation that you go about throughout your life. And you could look at this from many perspectives too. You stub your toe. That's a meditation, for example. Or something goes wrong, or you see something on the TV that triggers a fear, or you're talking to someone that triggers something inside of you. How much mental energy are you going to give this? How much of it? Because the amount that you're willing to emotionally invest into that certain thing is the amount you're willing to give your power to it. I made a post a while ago and it said whatever triggers you is trying to set you free. And that's very true because those triggers exist as a sort of realization point. The larger and more emotionally embedded the trigger is, the more prone you are to realizing that, wait a minute, I don't have to emotionally invest in this. It's just noise. I don't have to give it my attention. I don't have to obsess over it because it's not real. The trigger is an emotional trigger. It's triggering something inside of you. All you have to do is not obsess over what happens after that trigger is pulled. If you deal with sort of irrational fears and irrational thinking, that's the whole practice, is you know logically how you should be existing. You know logically that you should be feeling peace. And what's stopping you from feeling that peace? It's believing those thoughts. It's believing that for some reason, that trigger or that sign or that thought is a good enough reason for you to be living in fear and to be miserable. Your mind is not a fortune teller. Repeat that as many times as you need to and let it be your affirmation. The mind is a tool. It's not a guide. We have to take back the power, and we can only take it back in the form of awareness. We can only take it back in the form of withholding our reactions from things that we don't want repeating in our mental space. So that's meditation for you, but we can go on that tangent for a while, but let's go on to the next question.